You are Locked On Tigers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, who's staying up late for a live edition of Locked On Tigers Postcast? Thanks for tuning in. My name is Jake Riepma. I am your host. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma or follow me on X or any way you slice it. The Tigers lose again tonight, and they're shut out for the 9th time this season. Woohoo! Man, is this fun watching this team. So we're going to play the fun game of looking at all the different run totals over the course of the last several weeks for the Tigers. We'll talk about Jack Flaherty's outing. And in the spirit of the presidential debate, I've got some debate topics of my own, Tiger style. So again, if you're up late, thanks for joining us. As always, we thank you for making Locked On Tigers Postcast your destination post-game after the final out. And of course, your first listen every day, free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit. This episode of Locked On Tigers Postcast is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rival city. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. Booking.com, Booking.yeah. And hopefully the Tigers have a good stay in Los Angeles. It wasn't off to a great start. And technically Anaheim, which maybe that's even where we go tonight because, again, I'm going to put off talking about tonight's game as long as I can. But why is it always – is it the Anaheim Angels, Los Angeles Angels, the Angels of Anaheim? Like, I just never understood the California Angels. They just never got the branding right. I don't know. And speaking of branding, I think their old school stuff is way better than the current I mean, the logo's fine, but I just like the old Angels stuff. But the Halos nonetheless, and a bad baseball team that beat an even worse baseball team in the Detroit Tigers. 9th shutout of the season, or the 9th time the Tigers have been shut out this season. The White Sox were shut out 8 times in the first 22 games. So, but we're trending close to that. So welcome everybody to the comments on YouTube. If you're watching live, we appreciate it. But if it's past your bedtime and you shut the game off, we certainly understand that as well, because it was a snoozer. Make no mistake about it. But as always, we've got our loyal ones right away getting in the comments. We appreciate that. Demetrius McNeil, you are first up, and we say hello. This is a slap in the face to the Tigers for getting shut out and shut up. Embarrassing, if you ask me. It is. That's where we are. It is embarrassing. And, you know, I think the passion I'll always have for the Tigers, because I love the Tigers and I love this baseball team, but to do this every single night, you just, you know, you're worn out. And when we go through the run totals over the course of the last several weeks, you're just going to see that this is just who they are. And for a team to be shut out as often as they are, it's an embarrassing semblance of a team and construction of a team. And, you know, that's embarrassing is a good word for it. So we will keep that in mind. Rufus, the Motor City Kitty fan. I was not expecting that. Well, Rufus, you got to watch more Tigers then. Hi from your man in California. Hope I can make one of these games live. Yeah, there you go. I had the chance to go to, I think it's just called Angel Stadium. I had the chance to go last year. I was in town in Anaheim and Shohei Ohtani, it was a day game. Shohei Ohtani was pitching and at that time hitting as well. So I thought I got to snag a ticket. And to this day, that is the cheapest ticket to an MLB game I've ever gotten. And I honestly think it was $12 to go see Shohei Ohtani pitch and hit last year for the Angels. And he was a home run away from the cycle. He had a strange triple, a double, a single. It was a day I'll never forget. And I caught a t-shirt. That was great. But enough about my fan experience. Again, if we want to break down the X's and O's of this game, we can. I mean, just go up and down that box score and you'll be nauseous just like I am. Tony Witherspoon checking in. Appreciate that as always. Tigers started 3 batting under the Mendoza line. Time to DFA Zach, send down Malloy and Badu. Call up Meadows, Navigato, and Velati. Yeah, with the Badu thing, I kind of said that from the beginning. Malloy, I don't know if he's had enough at bats up here. It looks like it's not working out. The thing with Malloy that is somewhat encouraging is when he does make some kind of contact, it seems like he barrels up baseballs. It's just place or pitch selection, approach, whatever. And honestly, I sound fatigued, and because it seems like it's the same, word salad trying to find excuses for these guys night in and night out. So I apologize. I normally have more zest in my delivery with that, but you just watch this team night in and night out and you're exhausted. But this is what we need to bring to the program. My main man Neil Rule checking in, my guy, host on Woodward Sports and the voice of the Golden Grizzlies. What's happening, man? When are we done with Akil Badu? It's not personal with him, but I'm tired of what Badu represents. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that statement. And I was actually, it's funny you bring up Badu. I was accused of making it personal because I just think he's this type of guy that it was a good story 3 or 4 years ago, whenever he broke out with the Tigers as a Rule 5 player. And you think, yeah, there's a great story, something we can rally around. But that is ancient history at this point. We know who this guy is. He's just, and I guess it's a good point by you. It's not personal, but he's just not a good baseball. He's not a Major League Baseball player. And unfortunately, with how bad this roster is and how depleted the lineup is, when you can just throw any 4A, AAA guy in there and they'll have the same result as everybody else. So there's just nobody to replace him with. And we've had other people on this program comment that they're so sick of seeing Akil Badu in a Tigers uniform. And I'm glad that others share those same sentiments. Let's just move on from him already. Completely agree. I mean, if we have to listen to Scott Harris go on, have a seat or take a seat, and I'm sitting down now podcast and tell us to be patient, and it's all about getting young guys at bats and developing young players and to be patient, and this is all going according to plan and everything else, then I just don't see a reason for Akil Badu to be having at bats. And maybe he's going to catch some arrows tonight because he 0 for 3. And that's the other thing that I meant to get in sooner, but this is a Tigers team that just got shut down by a guy making his his first start, Davis Daniel. He pitched in the bigs, but this was his first start, and he goes 8 scoreless and just mows this lineup down. And it's laughable. 9th shutout of the season. I think Badu's last at bat just kind of was a microcosm of who he is, just a bad strikeout. And he's just not a guy that needs to be taking a roster spot at this point. If we're really honing in and holding true to what Scott Harris said the other day of, it's all about the young guys, get some young guys some at bats. So another disappointing day at the ballpark. And, like I've said time and time again on this program, it's a bummer that late June, there's just nothing about this baseball team that compels you to watch on a nightly basis. Riley Greene, okay, 2 more hits today. Sure, 2 for 3. Vote him to the All-Star game. I think he is, I said this the other day, whatever, he's top 5 in OPS among AL outfielders, but he just doesn't have any votes to the All-Star game because people in Detroit don't care about baseball when the team is this bad. And not only are they this bad, I was talking to my brother about this earlier today. They're not interesting. They're just lifeless, a lifeless, low market, low budget, low payroll team that's just drifting along. And meanwhile, you have the best pitcher in the American League that you're just wasting. And that's a whole nother conversation that will be part of our debate segment at the end of this program. So we'll talk about Jack Flaherty's outing. At least there's some things to build on. Made a couple of mistakes, but at the end of the day, it's the same conversation. When you're a pitcher for the Detroit Tigers, all we're asking you to do is go out and just shut the entire opposing team down, and maybe you'll have a chance to win. But again, tonight wouldn't have been enough because they get shut out for the 9th time. So don't go anywhere. We're going to take a short break and be right back on Locked On Tigers Postcast. All right, today's episode brought to you by our friends over there at Tax Pro USA. That's right. We've talked about the Tax Pros USA and the Tax Network USA time and time again. For more information, you can always just visit tnusa.com/lockdown or call 1-800-549-1000. But here on Locked On Tigers Postcast, we at least have a sense of pride, which is more than you can say about the actual team. But we pride ourselves in bringing you everything around this baseball team year round. And the same goes for the Locked On Lions Postcast and the Locked On Pistons Postcast. Year round here for you. We say it every episode, every single time. Your team every day. Now, you know who else is year round, doesn't take a day off, and is always working? Collections. That's right. Collection season. And it's not exactly the most exciting or the most fun thing to talk about, but my goodness, it is important because the IRS, they don't take any time off. They'll do anything. And just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. I promise you'd rather have them up to bat than any of these Tigers except Riley Greene. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 million in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay, you were probably betting against the Tigers if you did, then you need to get help correctly filing those taxes. So call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. All right, today's episode also brought to you by my friends over at eBay Motors. We love eBay Motors for a number of different reasons, but let me tell you, first and foremost, it's all about the passion, the drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and even level it up to peak performance. I'm talking superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. So whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. I wish you could get your money back from paying for your subscription to watch the Tigers, but you can't. But with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, Jack Flaherty on the bump tonight. And when you talk about this team and try to find some positive, obviously you're grasping at straws. And every fifth day we get to watch Tarek Skubal, sure, and Jack Flaherty is another guy to keep your eye on because of his value for a contending team at the deadline and his expiring deal. So wasn't his best tonight. 5 2/3, 7 hits, 5 runs, all of them earned. Made a couple of mistakes early to give up those 2 home runs, but 98 pitches, 66 of them for strikes, did strike out 7. And I think the biggest thing with Flaherty tonight is if I'm a contending team and I'm watching that, he's still a guy that garnishes all kind of interest and has a ton of value for a team that's trying to add one more arm for a postseason run. And as the month of June has gone and the season progresses, unfortunately, the Tigers just aren't that team, and they continue to plummet further and further away from even that last wild card spot. So the conversation has to be centered around whether or not, if you're Scott Harris, obviously the reports have been out there by MLB Network and so on and so forth, that there's definite interest in both those guys. So I think with Flaherty, it's a little bit, and in my opinion, it's a little bit easier to stomach the idea of trading him because, look, he certainly seems to be on the path of resurrecting his career. And given the 1-year deal that he was, that he signed for the Tigers, I think it very much was a prove it year for him. And let's not forget, I mean, this is one half of the season. So yes, he's been very, very good for the Tigers. And you could make the case he's starting to get back to his heyday and when he was a dominant arm. But maybe there's also a conversation to be had that you want to see a little bit more sample size from him than just half a season. At the same time, with there being a ton of value in moving him, and given where this team is at, maybe that's the right thing to do in moving Jack Flaherty. So that'll be interesting to see how that continues to progress and develop as we get closer and closer to that trade deadline. And it's a bummer that that's what we have to talk about. But even the most passionate pro Tigers fan has to have some sort of grip on reality that this team with the loss today, where they're now 37-44, and obviously the Central, I mean, what Cleveland's done has been incredible, but it is a wild card team at best, and with this offense, there's just no chance. So the conversation for making a deal at the deadline, whether it be Tarek Skubal or Jack Flaherty or both, it becomes very, very pertinent. And if you trust Scott Harris, I had that conversation with my good buddy Jeff Rieger the other day. I'm not there yet with trusting Scott Harris, and I think the years and years of scarring from Al Avila in that front office has me so pessimistic that even if a deal is made, it's like, great, now, and I know that's part of the risk you take with prospects and the small percentage of prospects that actually do pan out, but what other choice do you have? And I honestly, if it sounds like I might not be pro trade and might be against the trade, I honestly have to do even more thinking and reflecting of where I'm at on that, because sometimes I do, do the mental gymnastics of trying to get to the point and trying to decide where I'm at with it. Do you trust Scott Harris? And do you think a full on fire sale at the deadline is unfortunately the right thing to do because of how poorly this team has played in the month of June? And again, going back on what I say at least once an episode, how poorly this team was constructed. And it's so interesting when Scott Harris talks, it's like knowing that this team was going to have their struggles and the way that they were built, but because we foresaw it coming, we forecasted for this to happen, then it's all okay. And I don't understand that line of thinking. So no, it's okay. We knew this offense was going to be terrible. It's fine. It's fine. I don't get that line of thinking, and maybe I'm not patient enough, but 11 years of nothingness has me this way. So that said, I don't mean to take it out on Flaherty, because the Tigers didn't lose this game because Jack Flaherty wasn't his best. The Tigers lost this game the same reason they've lost a number of games in the last month. And I said we were going to go through the Tigers run total, and I haven't gotten to that yet. So just for funsies, as we love to do, they did get 2 runs in the finale against the Phillies. But basically it was a 6-1 game in the 9th. Don't forget. And they just get the late run there. 1 run the game before that, 4 the game before that. 1 run in the opener against the Phillies. The 11 runs against the White Sox. Then before that, it was 1, 2, 0, 1, 1, 1. That was awesome. I mean, the last game against Houston and then the 3 against Atlanta, that stretch of 3 runs in 4 games, just incredible. The random game where this offense breaks out with 13, shutout before that. And so you just go up and down the recent sampling of games, it's a terrible offense that randomly will score a number of double-digit runs. And unfortunately, we're stuck with this team from now until whenever training camp starts, and then the preseason, and then we've got football season. It can't come soon enough, because make no mistake about it, my friends, we are in the dog days of summer. So I appreciate everybody that's staying up late with me tonight on this Locked On Tigers postcast. We've got one more segment to go. I thought we'd have some fun with some debate topics in the spirit of the presidential debate. I want everyone to let me know your political affiliation. I'll let you know mine, and then we'll just get right in. I'm kidding. Of course, we're not going to do that. We're going to debate Tigers topics. So don't go anywhere. Final segment of the night coming up in just a bit. All right, Locked On Tigers postcast. Excited to tell you all about a new sponsor. And as soon as we find it, there they are. It's booking.com and booking.yeah. That's right. At booking.com and booking.yeah, we know what they're all about. Booking.com, booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those cities you've always secretly wanted to learn about. We're talking about your rival cities. How about that? With hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, and even in your baseball rival city. Wow. Who can't remember those times as a kid in the summer? Maybe for me, it was always with my grandparents, going to a different MLB city. In fact, I talked about being at Angel Stadium, one of my favorites. We could go on and on about some of our favorite ballparks, but those are the memories that you want to make, especially now in the summer as summer travel heats up. I still remember going to PNC Park with my brothers and grandparents and staying in a couple of different hotels. And I'm sure my grandmother used booking.com, booking.yeah to make those reservations. Because from hotels that overlook stadiums and to family-friendly resorts, booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this MLB season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on booking.com, on the site, or in the booking.com app. And today's episode also brought to you by my friends over at LinkedIn. That's right. 2 billion users are on LinkedIn, but today we're talking about the LinkedIn Sales Navigator. We've got a 60-day free trial for you at linkedin.com/locked on. How about that, sports fans? LinkedIn Sales Navigator is going to help you if you're struggling to close deals. B2B selling is tougher than ever, and that's why I'm here to tell you all about the Sales Navigator. It's a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers, drive higher revenue, and increase sales performance. Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyer, surface key signals such as job changes or which accounts you should prioritize, and it shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. We're talking efficiency, people. Time is money. Time is precious. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date first-party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with the people that matter. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/locked on. That's linkedin.com/locked on for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Superstar, that'd be nice to have in Detroit. Just go to linkedin.com/locked on to get started. Final segment of the night, and if you stayed up late with us, we certainly appreciate it. It's time to have some Tiger-friendly debates in honor of the presidential debate held earlier tonight. First one on my debate card, Tarek Skubal Trade him, yes or no? Let me know what you think in the comments. And again, I go back and forth on this because it's a tough topic, and it seems like, with every game, sometimes your opinion can sway one way or the other. And the thought of losing this homegrown talent that has been so, so good for us is tough to swallow. But at the same time, look where this team is. They're just, it feels like a dumpster fire at this point. And not even that as much as it's just not interesting. It's just a bad club that's going to continue to fall further and further below 500 and play less and less meaningful baseball, because that's just what has happened based on their play on the field. So I'm kind of in between, and it's a hot topic to debate. That's what we're here for. But if it's one of those offers that, as they say, it'd be to make him an offer he couldn't refuse, and Scott Harris feels like it's an offer too good to refuse, then maybe you do have to pull the trigger. All right, other debate topics. How about, when is it time to bring Spencer Torkelson back up to the big league club? And this one is also tough. He had a better day the other night with the 2 home runs, one of them being a grand slam. I think at this point, why not? He's been back in AAA long enough to where, look at this team. Like, who's he taking? What harm is it going to do? We're going to get even more shutout than we have lately. I think someone else mentioned Parker Meadows in the comments. Is it time to bring him back up? Has he had enough time in Toledo? Because I'm with Neil Rule that the Baddoo we're done with Akil Baddoo. I'd rather see Parker Meadows than Akil Baddoo at this point. So fun debate topics. Curious where you stand on that. So let me know in the comments. It's always good to have some Tigers debate on hand. Other one that we talked about yesterday is AJ Hinch doing a good job. I think when Jim Costa asked him that on 97.1 The Ticket, the question caught him off guard a little bit, but good back and forth there. And when Jim went back and kind of rephrased it, I think there was more of a candid conversation to be had between the two of them. And it was compelling stuff. And I just don't think he is doing a good job. And at some point, there has to be some blame on the manager, despite the cast that he is working with. And there's more. Sure, I would absolutely stand firm that there's more blame to be had on the development of young players, the construction of the roster on the front office, their inability to go make this team field a competitive offense, in my opinion, and make this team at least have a shot given the starting rotation that they do have. And that was really, really good for the first portion of this season. So I think there's more blame to be had with the construction of this roster. But at the same time, year number 4 for AJ Hinch, and it just feels like that hamster on the wheel, just running and not going anywhere. This team it's on pace to be worse than they were last year. And last year they did overachieve. Torque got hot at the end of the year, but it's still a work in progress, obviously. But I am tapped out on the patience. If I get told to be patient one more time, I might go right through this computer screen. Not actually, but it does fire me up when we get told to be patient. So last one we'll end with, do you trust Scott Harris? I've made it clear, not yet. He's only been there 20 months, so he does deserve some more time, I suppose. But it's a debate that I think also can change from day to day. And, I talked at length yesterday about his time on the podcast with Panetti and Dan Dickerson. And, there was, it's compelling stuff to listen to. The guy's obviously a brilliant baseball mind and worked under Theo Epstein, but let's again, and it's probably me, I'm just not patient enough to put up with this, the time that it takes apparently to get to where, to develop a Scott Harris team. And this is what he's done, and this is his track record. So I don't really have much of a choice, though, which is also, you kind of feel like a bumbling idiot. At least I do when I get so fired up. And then I think, why am I so fired up? What am I going to change? But that said, we've got 3 more games with the Angels, followed by trip to Minnesota, followed by the conclusion of the road trip against Cincinnati. Going off memory there, I don't have the schedule pulled up, but I think that's what we've got. So thanks again for staying up late with me. As always, we appreciate your participation in the comments for our live Locked On Tigers postcast. And Mary Jo Isaacson getting her comment in at the very end there. We appreciate that. Sad, another bad movie. That's right. There's a lot of those bad movies. Hopefully it'll be better tomorrow. Another late one. So stay up late with me, and we will be live at the conclusion of the contest tomorrow, and the final out will bring you all the reaction and analysis. It'll be Kenta Maeda, my favorite, on the mound for the Tigers. Can't wait for that one. So thanks so much for tuning in. Shout out to Rufus, the Motor City Kitty fan. Hopefully you get to one of those games, and we'll see you next time on Locked On Tigers postcast.